Sixth grade, yesterday we were talking about sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, and which one we thought was better, or the positives and the negatives of that. And one of the things we really stressed with sexual reproduction is it gives you a unique DNA, which gives you characteristics that might help you survive. Today's lesson, and it's going to take into tomorrow, is going to be, can we predict what genes you're going to get, what traits you'll get from your parents, and how we inherit those things. And so we'll see if we can see everything that goes into it. Now, the other thing I'm going to stress from the beginning, guys, is we're going to talk what I say is the sixth grade level of genetic guessing or heredity. We're going to spend our time talking with eye color in humans because your book's going to talk about that a little bit. They're also going to use the guinea pig example here. And in humans, brown dominates over blue eyes. Okay, so we're going to use that one in general. But guys, you know there's way more than just two eye colors in the world. So it's not always as simple as we make this sound. And as you move along in your schooling, you'll see that it gets a little bit more complicated. But this is going to give us the basic of can we figure out heredity today. Okay, we have a goal. It's how do genes determine traits. And it says genes work together to determine individual traits. Scientists can use what they know about how genes work to produce organisms that are more useful. That's more to tomorrow's lesson when we talk about selective breeding. But we can also look at parents and try to predict their offspring. Okay, here we go. An individual formed by sexual reproduction gets traits from both parents. What determines which trait will show up in an offspring? For example, the parent guinea pigs shown on the left have two different types of fur. One parent has smooth fur, the other has rough fur. What kind of fur will their offspring have? So mom over here is to the right is purebred for rough fur, and father is purebred for smooth fur. All right. How an offspring looks depends not just on what genes it has, over here in your blanks, but also on how these genes work together. For many traits, notice the word many, guys, an individual has a pair of genes, one gene from each parent, but genes have different versions. Okay? For example, one version of the gene that determines the type of coat in a guinea pig is for smooth. The other version is for a rough coat. When the two different versions of a gene occur together, one version may show up, the other may not. So you're back over here. Genes come in different versions, and one may show up and the other may not. Now we'll talk about what the not showing up means. A version of a gene that masks the effect of the other version is called a dominant trait. So a dominant trait, the version of a trait that masks the effects of the other. I said it a different way. Dominant is the one that you get to see. Dominant means I dominate you. I beat you. My trait shows up, okay? So that's the one that's going to be expressed, the one we can see. When we write these things, guys, the dominant traits get capital letters. All right. The trait that is hidden is called the recessive trait. The trait that's hidden, the trait that you don't see. Even though you don't see it, guys, it is still in your DNA inside your cell, and it can be passed on to the next generation. A recessive trait is written with a lowercase r, or a lowercase letter. We usually make the letters the same, guys. Even though we're doing rough fur and smooth fur, we didn't use an R and an S. We use the capital R because it's the dominant one. So here they're going to say that. In guinea pigs, rough fur is a dominant trait. Smooth fur is the recessive trait. That means an offspring that has a version of the gene for rough fur and a version of the gene for smooth fur will have rough fur. So here's mom, here's dad. Mom, dominant traits for rough fur. Dad, recessive traits. Kid number one, rough fur, because capital dominant masks the recessive trait. I can't see the smooth fur because the dominant rough, same with both of these guys, okay? So these are two pictures of guinea pigs now that both have rough fur. The only way a guinea pig can have smooth fur is if both versions of the gene are for smooth fur. Here we go. That's an important statement, guys. I can get smooth fur. This has smooth fur. Why? Because both of the traits are smooth fur. Both versions of the gene for fur type in the mother guinea pig in the picture are dominant. These versions are represented by the capital R and the capital R. Each capital R represents a gene for rough coat. The father's genes are both for smooth fur, which would be then lowercase r and lowercase r. An organism with two versions of a dominant trait or two versions of a recessive trait is called purebred for that trait. So you're now got your next thing. Guys, we're going to get a lot of work today. Dominant, what I see, capital letter. Recessive, what I don't see, lowercase letter. Next word I need to know, purebred. The letters are the same. They're either both dominant, which would make them both capital, or they're both recessive, which would make them both lowercase. Okay? Because guinea pigs reproduce sexually, each of their babies will get one dominant version of the gene R from the mother and one recessive version, lowercase r, from the father. The offspring's genes will be RR, capital and lower, and they will have rough fur. An organism with one dominant and one recessive is called a hybrid. So you got two terms now you got to keep straight. The choices are purebred or hybrid, same or one of each, and then the other thing you need to keep straight are dominant or recessive. Capital and shows, hidden and lowercase. Okay, so today we use the word hybrid with cars. A hybrid car runs on electricity and on gasoline. It has one of each power source. Schools today are talking about going to a hybrid model. Some students are learning virtually, some students are in person. You have one of each type, virtual and in person. Okay, so one dominant, one recessive. We will see the dominant trait. So they're carrying this recessive trait in their body, guys, but I still see rough fur. Here we go. However, if two hybrids, because they have one of each, guinea pigs mate, each baby will receive a capital R or a lowercase r from each parent. The offspring can have one of three possible gene combinations. They can be capital R, they can be capital R, lowercase r, or they can be lowercase. Only the lowercase combination will show the smooth coat. So here we go here. These two offspring now produce the next generation. Two capitals could go together, rough fur. One of each could go together, rough fur. One of each could go together, rough fur. Or we could get the two lowercase r's, put it together, and you all of a sudden have a child with smooth fur. So it's kind of interesting when you think about it. I have two rough fur guinea pigs, and they produce a smooth furred guinea pig. In human beings, I can have two brown-eyed parents produce a blue-eyed child. All right, how do we do that, guys? We cross them using what we call Punnett squares. And so now we're going to practice crossing Punnett squares so that we can then look at parents and predict what their children will look like. Now, to give us a better chance, guys, it's not only good to look at the parents, it's good to look at the grandparents. Because just by looking at these parents, if I didn't know their parents, and I was just looking here, I could assume rough fur would look with two capitals. But if I looked at these parents and said, hey, they have rough and smooth, then I would know these guys are hybrids. Because I know these guys are hybrids, I know I can now predict that. So we're going to work at trying to cross parents to make a prediction. Okay, 6, we're ready to practice the bottom of the page here. I have it written out for you on the board. Now, if you're looking here, it says cross a purebred dominant with purebred recessive for eye color. Dominant is brown-eyed, and it gets a capital B. Recessive is blue-eye color, it gets a lowercase b. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down the parents on the top and the side. So it looks like this. Purebred means they are the same. So the letters are the same. So one's purebred dominant, which means they're going to get a capital letter B and a capital letter B. Now, why does one parent get 2 letters? Because it came from 2 parents. So I would think of grandma gave this one, grandpa gave this one, now we have the parents. I'm crossing with purebred recessive, purebred, same, recessive, lowercase. So I write it here and I write it here. This is what happened in the first picture of your guinea pigs on the far left side. Okay, now what you do, guys, is you slide the capital letters down and you slide the lowercase letters across. So I bring this capital B down, I bring this capital B down. I slide the lowercase across, I slide the lowercase across. Again, capital down, lower across, capital down, lower across. It's kind of like a multiplication table. You're just bringing your letters straight down. Now I have to go and I have to interpret them. So the next thing says, how many purebreds do you have? Purebreds, the letters are the same. Nope, 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 nope. I don't have any purebreds. How many hybrids? The letters are different. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 hybrids. Now the next question says, how many of these 4 are going to have brown eyes? Remember, brown dominates blue. Brown masks blue. Blue is hidden. Brown dominates. Brown's expressed. Brown I can see. So if there's a capital letter, guys, I can see it. So this guy right here is going to be brown-eyed because he has a dominant brown trait. Brown-eyed, dominant brown trait. Brown-eyed, dominant brown trait. Brown-eyed, dominant brown trait. So how many are going to have brown eyes? All 4. How many have blue eyes? 0 have blue eyes. Now, guys, pay attention to this because you're going to have questions like this on your test where you're going to have to be able to do a Punnett square and answer this. Now, guys, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 choices. These 2 numbers, purebred and hybrid, have to add up to 4. Brown and blue have to add up to 4. This is your middle picture of the guinea pigs. Now, they only gave you 2 in your book. They said, here's mom and dad, purebreds, and they produced 2 hybrids. They both have rough fur. They all have brown eyes, but they're carrying the blue-eyed trait. So now bump down on your notes, guys. The next one down in the left corner says, now cross 2 hybrid parents. Hybrids, 1 of each. So I write a capital letter and a lowercase letter. The other one is also a hybrid. Capital letter, lowercase letter. Now we're going to put them together. You just put them into the box. So this capital B comes down, this capital B comes across. This capital B comes across, this lowercase b comes down. The reason I said it that way, guys, is we always write the capital letters first. Okay, it doesn't really matter, but it's just how you write it in science. This capital letter comes down, this lowercase letter comes across. This lowercase letter comes down, this lowercase letter comes across. This looks like the 4 guinea pigs you have in your book on the right-hand side now, where you have the different things. Let's count purebreds. Purebreds means they're the same. Same capital, capital, same lowercase, lowercase. So how many purebreds do we have? 2. How many hybrids do we have? Hybrids, 1 of each. We got this guy here, and we got this guy here. So there's 2. Remember, those 2 numbers always add up to 4. Now let's count brown eyes. Brown eyes is count anything that's got a capital letter B in it. That'll have brown eyes. It's got a capital letter B. That'll have brown eyes. It has a capital B. This guy will have brown eyes. It has a capital B. This one doesn't have any capital B. Boom. So there's 3 brown eyes. What's this guy? This guy's a blue eye. So I know there's 1 blue eye. That's how you had 3 rough fur guinea pigs and 1 smooth fur guinea pigs. So guys, that's why hybrids are important. I look at them and I see that they have brown eyes, but they could produce a child that has blue eyes if I knew they were hybrids. Now I don't, just by looking at somebody, I don't know if they're hybrids or not. I would have to go back a generation to see, you know, were your parents brown eyes too, or was there blue eyes in there? You can't always tell this stuff just by looking. You have to study genetics. But for instance, I have blue eyes. To have blue eyes, you know it has to be little b, little b. My wife also has blue eyes, so you know she's going to be little b, little b. All we're doing is putting together little b's. All my kids will have blue eyes because of that. Okay, you're at the top right now. It says cross a purebred dominant. Purebred letters are the same. Dominant means use capital. Then it says cross it with a hybrid. Hybrid means one of each. So one capital, one lowercase. Let's put the letters together. Capital B, down with a capital B, across with a capital B, down with a capital B, over with the lowercase b, down with the capital B, over with the lowercase b. Let's count. How many have the same letters, both capital or both lower? Both capital, both capital. I have two purebreds. How many hybrids? One of each, one of each. So I have two of those. Adds to 4, adds to 4, adds to 4. Let's count brown eyes. Brown eye says you need to have a capital letter in you. 1 capital, 2 capital, 3 capital. They all have a capital letter in. That tells you all 4 are brown eyes. That tells you 0 of them have blue eyes. Last one, bottom right. It says cross a purebred, recessive. Purebred, letters are the same. Recessive, use lowercase. Cross it with a hybrid. Hybrid says you have one of each. One is capital, one is lower. Slide your letters now. Capital B across, lower B down. Capital B across, lower B down. These are going to be lower down, lower across. Lower down, lower across. I'm counting purebreds. Same kind of letters. Either both capital or both lowercase. Both lowercase, both lowercase. I have 2 purebreds, which means I have to have 2 hybrids. One of each, one of each. Now we're looking for brown eyes. How many have a capital B in it? 1 capital B, 2 capital B's. Tells me there's 2 browns. How many have blue? To be blue, you need both lowercases. Both lowers, both lowers. You have 2 blues. Okay, guys, I already said this is going to be on your test. I'm going to write something like, hey, you have a purebred dominant and a hybrid parent. Cross them and tell me this result. So you have to be able to do that. It might do really good to make sure you keep track of that with the work that we just did so that you can reference this. But these are the 4 different ways we can cross. We can cross one of each. We can cross hybrids. We can cross dominant purebred with hybrid or dominant recessive with hybrid to get the different results. And then the other last helpful hint is make sure they always add up to 4. Between purebreds and hybrids, the answer is 4. Between brown and blue, the answer is 4. All right, we're halfway through the lesson. You got this all filled in. It should look like that if you had it done correctly with all your letters and numbers just like on my board. And we'll see you tomorrow for the rest of the lesson.